Welcome to part 3 in this 3-part series of creating your portfolio using Studio. In part 2, if you haven't watched that yet, that's where we created the 3 pages and added styling. But in this part 3, we're going to add some links between our pages. We'll add some animation to the different elements that we've designed, and we'll also make our design responsive. So as we break down to the tablet or mobile size, then the elements will be adapted to those sizes. Lastly, we're going to apply some SEO settings and publish our site to be viewed by other visitors. So let's jump in where we left off in part 2 here. And just for a refresher, we can go in and open up our Pages panel. And we do have a Pages for Works, About, and Contact. So now let's jump into our Works page. And you'll remember that we created a symbol here for this navigation, which means we can use this in all the other pages. So it doesn't matter what page we jump into. If we're in About, for example, we can link these menu items up and it'll be applied in every single page. So I'll show you what I mean here. If I double click, let's just go ahead and link these pages up. We'll select the Works text, and we can open up our settings panel here by just clicking on this right arrow. And this is where we can apply a link, and we have 2 different types of links we can apply. If we want to apply a link to an external URL or page, we can do that. Or if we go into page here, we can just search for the page we want. And in this case, I'll choose Works. And then here, I'm going to choose About. And the last one, I'm going to choose Contact. So now you'll notice if I jump into the Works page here, if I select this Works text right here, that's going to be applied here as well. So now all of our pages in our navigation is linked up. Let's go ahead and now link our social accounts here. So I have a Twitter account. I can just double click to select the Twitter icon, and having the settings panel open, I can again either link to a page, but in this case, I want to just link to my Twitter URL. So you can add that URL here, and that's going to link externally. And we can choose whether we want this to open in a new tab so that if they ever close it, they can jump right back into our website, or if we want to jump directly to that page, we can toggle that on and off to enable or disable that. And then Instagram, I'll just go ahead and paste that in. And lastly, Dribbble. So now to check this out at any point, I can click Live Preview. Let's go ahead and preview what that looks like. So now that we have our preview open, we can go ahead and explore how this navigation works between Works, About, Contact. So everything's looking good here. And then our social icons right here, we can access our Twitter, we can access Instagram here, and our Dribbble is working. So that's a great way to test everything to make sure it's all working. And then we can jump back in and just add some other links here throughout our website. So now to finish off adding these links, we're just going to come down here and see anything we want to link, like get into. I'll go ahead and speed through this since we covered this in the navigation, but what I'm going to do right now is just tie up all the links and connect them in between pages and then again to some social. Now this page is completed, so we'll jump right into About. We're going to see if we need to add some links here. So we can do the same thing here, or again, if we go into Works, we can actually copy and paste because those elements are the same and we've already linked them up. I can hold down Shift and select all of these elements here. Go ahead and copy, jump into About. And then here we'll link these up as well. And then lastly, we're going to jump to our Contact. So here in Contact, I don't have any other areas to add those links. So we're done adding links to our website. So now that we have things linked up, we're going to add some animation here to our website. So we can select different elements. We can select individual text and images, or we can select an entire section like this box, for example. So let's say this box, we want this to slide over to the right and fade in. So we can select this box, and instead of the box settings, we can switch over here to motion settings. And we want this animation to trigger right when the elements appear on screen. So we can go into condition first of all and choose appear. So when this section appears, we want to animate this. So first we'll set the X value here to -100 because we want it to slide from the left to the right. And then we can set the opacity to 0. And so it's going to show it fading in. And you can see what that looks like by clicking on this little play button right here to see what that's going to look like. So that's a nice little animation. And then we set the duration to 1,000. This is just 1 second. If we want it to be 2 seconds, we can 2,000. What that looks like here. So that's how it's going to look. I think I like the 1,000. And we have other properties. So if we want to set a delay, for example, or have more natural movement, we can choose some of the physics here of how it eases. But I think I like this, so we'll go ahead and click away. And then here, we can animate this entire box holding these 4 cards. Or if I want, I can hold down Shift and select each of these cards. And then within here, I can apply motion settings to all the cards simultaneously. So in this case, I want to again choose Appear. So when this appears, I want to have this animate within 1 second. I want to start off with 0 opacity. And then the Y value, I'll have it sit 100 pixels below and slide up. But one thing that's also nice, let's say there's 2 elements appearing on the screen at the same time, we can select this second box, for example, and hold down Shift and select this 4th box. And we can set a delay here just to make it a little bit more natural movement. So within these 2 boxes here, let's go back to our motion property. And here's where we can set that 300.3 seconds. So with all of those settings enabled, again, let's click Live Preview just to see how things are looking. And you can see automatically how the animation occurs. If I scroll down here, you can see that there's other animations occurring. So it just adds a little bit more dazzle and pop to our portfolio. So let's go ahead and change some of those other settings here in the other page. So we'll go to About, for example. So here on this page, we can select, I'm going to select this first group first, and we'll go into Motion, Condition, Appear, and here we're going to start off at 0 opacity. We'll go ahead and set the X value here at -100. So it's just going to slide over here to the right. And I like that 1 second duration here. So take a look at what that looks like here. And then with this image here, I want to go into motion here, set the condition to appear again, but I want to add a 0.3 second delay with that same 1 second duration. And this time I'm going to set a 200 pixel. I'm just going to have it start from down here. And we'll set this opacity to 0, and we can see what that looks like as well. So to see this whole animation in action, we can either click Live Preview right here, but because we already have this other Live Preview open, we can just hit refresh. So we'll refresh that, and if we go into About, we can see that animation happening. And you can see how maybe it's starting a little bit too late, so that's where we can jump in here and just change this delay, let's say to just 0.1. So I think that's going to work a little bit better. So you can really get crazy with these animations and animate it however you'd like, whether you want to animate the rotation, the skew, the scaling, and you can also set hover triggers. So for example, when I hover over this menu right here, we can set that condition to hover, and we can scale the whole thing if we'd like. So we're going to go over to motion here. We can change things even like the Y value here. So if we want this to move up like 5 pixels, we can change that here. So let's go ahead and live preview this again. And we can see how that moves up as we hover over the navigation. So there's a lot of great functionality in the way that this animation works. Now let's work on making our design adaptable. So here, we're going to jump right in here to the Works page. And the first thing we can do is just choose the tablet view. And let's scroll down our page to make sure everything looks good. And I think everything looks okay here right now, so there wouldn't really be a need to adapt our design. But the way responsive design works is as you design your page with the primary screen, then any changes that you make will ripple down below to the tablet and the mobile view. So for example, if I make a change in the tablet and I can select all 4 cards here and set the width here to be 100%. And I can even change the padding here if I wanted the padding to be 100 between. So now when I go to primary, it's still going to have the 2 columns, tablet's going to have 1, and the mobile is going to have 1 as well. So that's how you change the responsive design. And even for mobile, let's say that I want to keep the 1 column but have a little bit less of that margin, a little bit less of that padding. I can again just hold down Shift, select these elements here, and just change this padding here to 30. So at any point, again, just switching primary, tablet, mobile, we can see how that responds to those different screen sizes. So let's go back to this second section right here. I just want to jump to tablet, make sure that looks good. I think that still looks good. And even things as far as the text size. So if I want the text size on tablet just to be a little bit smaller, let's say 32 pixels, I can change that here. And let's now jump into the mobile view. And you'll see that it's cutting off in mobile view, and that's okay because again, here we have that static width if we go into our box properties. But instead of that, I can hold down Shift. I'll select all of these elements here. Let's say I want to remove the margins here. I can do that, and then for this box here, I can set some padding. So I'll set that to be 30 pixels here, and we'll lock that. Primary, how that looks, tablet, and mobile. So that's looking really good, and that's how you make your design responsive. So we're going to jump into now the About page and do the same thing. Scroll up here, start at primary. So here this is starting to look good, but we can click on tablet. We can see how it's a little bit squished here. So here, so we can change this box that contains all this text and change this to be 50%. So that looks really good. We can jump back to primary, see how that looks. The tablet's looking good now. And then if we jump to mobile here, you can see that things are starting to really look squished. So here, we can select this box, and let's just change the orientation. Instead of from left to right, we can do from top to bottom here, but I want to show my image first before this. So instead of that, I'm just going to switch this from bottom to top. So that's going to have this here, and we can set a little bit of a margin. And in this case, if we select this box here, instead of 50%, we'll change this to 100. And we can hit escape to go up one level. And in this case, I actually want to dock everything here and align this to the left. So my image is aligned to the left, and that's looking really good. So we'll click away from the page here. It's primary, tablet, mobile. And that's how you can start to design everything to work for these different screen sizes. The last one here is contact. We're going to come into contact, see how it looks with tablet. Tablet looks okay. Mobile, you can see that we have some issues we've got to fix. And the biggest issue is just here with this padding. So all we have to do is change this padding now to 30. And everything looks really good for mobile now. So in a matter of just a few minutes, we have all of our pages adapted to these screen sizes so it can look its best no matter what screen it's being viewed on. Now we'll jump back into the primary view, and the last thing we're going to do here before we publish is apply some SEO settings. So if we don't have any elements selected here, if we just select outside of the page, we can access our page settings. This page setting is where we can add a title and description. So here we can name this Caleb Kingston Design Portfolio. And for SEO purposes, let's say that you're an interior designer, you would say Caleb Kingston Interior Design Portfolio, just so that that can be pulled up in search engine. So we can add a description, and this description is going to be that same description that pulls up in Google and other search engine sites that describes the page. So you can give this any description you want. So in this case, I can say Caleb Kingston is a graphic designer based in Salt Lake City. Browse page. Most recent work. We can also add a favicon. So the favicon is actually the icon. If you'll notice here in the tabs, we have the Studio favicon here. We have the Dribble favicon here. So if you want to brand that, if you have your own logo, you can add that here and just upload this. And then you can choose whether you want search engines to index this page or not. So right now, no index is off, which means Google bots will crawl this website and will find your page. If you don't want the search engines to find this page, you can enable this here. But I highly recommend, especially for a portfolio website, to leave this off. And then as you're sharing links, let's say that you're sharing this on Facebook or Twitter, if you want to set a social cover, you can do that here as well. So for example, if I was sharing my portfolio, I would want to click Upload Image right here. And let's say I want this social image to be this business card graphic. I can apply that here. So now when this link is being shared out, it gets that little snippet or view into my website. So you can apply all the SEO and page settings here, but we can also jump into site settings. And site settings is where we can set some universal settings. So again, if we want this to be Caleb Kingston portfolio, you can apply that, and then you can add a universal description. And this will be great if you ever add new pages and forget to add a description, but I highly recommend that you go into the individual pages here and change that to be unique for each page. That'll give you a better chance of being found through search engines. So we've done a lot of work to our site, and the last step is to finally publish this site. So we've done all of this using the free account, and even with the free account, we can have a free subdomain and publish this for other visitors to view. So in this case, all I have to do is click publish, and I can give this site a name. So if I wanted to name this Caleb Kingston or Caleb Kingston portfolio, I can change that and you'll see that it's available, but it'll be calebkingstonportfolio.studio.site. So I can save this and actually publish this and share this with anybody that wants to see my work. So we'll go ahead and click on this link right here. And this is our published website right here in all of its responsive glory. We can see how everything works. We go to contact right here. You can see how that responds. We can add our name, email, and message, and we will get the inputs here. And everything functions the way that we've designed it. Now, the last step, and I think this is really important here, and this is where you're invited to pay for Studio, just $9 a month. This is a great value for what you're getting, and also, and some of the extras that you get when you pay this $9 a month is you can connect to a primary domain like calebkingston.com. And you can also remove the Studio banner and add third-party service integrations. Let's say you want to connect Google Analytics to see who is viewing your site. And there's other integrations like MailChimp, for example. If you have a mailing list, there's a lot of great and powerful features that you can take advantage of for a really low fee. But if you're okay with the way that your website is right now, and you like this calebkingston.studio.site, everything's free up until this point, and you're welcome to share this link out through social sites or anywhere else to display your work. So that's part 3 and the final part of how you create your portfolio using Studio. You can see as we went through these steps, we didn't have to apply any code. Everything was drag and drop, applying images, and it was what you see is what you get. So it's a really great and powerful tool to be able to showcase your work very easily and add on to it as you have other work coming your way.